So if we look out 12 months, the recession is behind us, rates are lower, and inflation is low. Okay, so that is a very good outcome for risk assets and crypto. Crypto bottomed in June. We had the retest. Bitcoin had a retest only 2 days ago, and I think it was the retest. So my DMARC indicators, which I use mainly for my technical analysis, gave me that signal. ETH had a much stronger signal in June, and I started finding as much money as I could under the sofa anywhere to start investing, adding to my positions. I never sold anything. So I'm thinking the markets are forward looking. I think the sentiment is extremely bearish, and we're going into a potential change in the macro. Does it happen this month, next month? Don't really care. Then we've got the ETH merge, which we all know about. You know, I don't think it brings fireworks. Maybe it does. Maybe there's a big sell-off after it, big sell-off beforehand. I don't really know. And again, I don't really care. What I do know is that post-merge, a few things happen. There are no miners to sell every day. That's about 6 billion that just disappears from selling each month. Okay, so that's a difference. Then we've got the reduction in supply, but that's really driven by the increase in network activity. So we need to kind of see the network go up a lot for that to really kick in. It become deflationary, but it's less inflationary. So there's less ETH around, but then we've got this magic. The magic is you've just introduced yield into the ETH ecosystem in a secure way. So therefore, because it's at protocol level. So therefore, this is going to attract new people into the ecosystem who want to get ETH for yield. So you've got a demand shock. Also, the lack of the ESG restrictions that people have with Bitcoin, you know, falsely so, but I understand that that's the mandate people have got. So you've got people who are frustrated who wanted to invest but couldn't because of ESG and Bitcoin. The ETH merge, they're waiting for it to happen. ETH now has a yield. A lot of institutions don't own gold because it doesn't have a yield. So you've got this technology asset that represents a big, exciting future with a yield, with a limited supply. So that has and a macro that's changing. That to me suggests the next 12 months probably very, very good for digital assets. So that's at the basic level. And then I'm trying to think through, okay, in a new world where ETH is this very important asset, it's still going to have problems. It's still going to be expensive, and it's still going to be slow. So as adoption keeps building, a lot of adoption spills outside of the ETH into the Solana, Avalanche, and a bunch of other protocols as well. So I think we're going to see ETH lead the charge, and then we'll see this tail of stuff starting to come as we start a new bull market. And generally things work that way. So I think a lot of these layer ones this time around will be like ETH in the last cycle. They'll end up becoming very large dominant change. Which ones? Yeah. Don't really know. My bet's really on Solana, but it could be any of these, and I'm kind of indifferent right now. Solana's, as I said, I got more allocated towards that than I have to some of the others, but I'm watching them and waiting to see. I've had also technically a perfect monthly, daily, weekly DMARC setup in the Solana ETH cross. Now, I'm not yet ready to make the bet that I would switch my ETH into Solana, but I have some. But I'm observing that to say, let's see if that plays out, because that will be a narrative that people don't really expect. And I'm not saying that Solana becomes bigger than ETH or anything of that sort. I'm just saying, could it outperform in this cycle? So I think we're at the new cycle point. The logarithmic chart, we got to the 2 standard deviations oversold. Everybody knows the on-chain metrics. We've got the perfect setup. Is it today? Is the low in? I would give it an 80% probability, but there's a 20% chance it's not. So I'm very focused right now on watching the price structure. And the final thing to give you is the big one for me is ETH breaking about the 2000 level. That will give us an inverted head and shoulders low. And also there's a downtrend from the high. and it would have then broken a wedge pattern to the upside, and that would be the start of the run to new highs whenever that occurs.